Hi, I'm Regina, and you are you. And welcome to Conversations with Regina. Uh, this is my YouTube channel, and I hope you like it well enough to subscribe. So subscribe away, and we're pretty irregular at this point. So hit the notification bell, and you'll get an update whenever I do an update. I hope to get a little more consistent in the future. Today, I'd like to talk about fear. The thing about fear is that we all live with it, in one form or another. And if you try to tell me that you have no fears, I'm not going to believe you. And it's really that simple. We all have fears about something. Growing up, my fears were about being somebody figuring out who I was, and it was my own fear about figuring out who I was. And so consequently, I had to live an inauthentic life almost my entire life. I have just recently come out in the last 10 years, and so, and for the first 5 of those 10, while I was exploring, I wasn't like committing to anything, until I had that opportunity. So anyway, and once I figured out who I was and the things that I'd been missing, voila, here I am. But there's still a lot of fear. People used to tell me when I first transitioned about how brave I was, and I thought, the truth of it is I've just been chicken to admit anything. I was first accused of being gay when I was like 21, 22, somewhere in there. We were wild and crazy hippies, and this gentleman and I, we had been hanging out, and we had decided that it was okay if we kissed because, anything goes in those days. It was like 1970, 1971. We didn't live together. We just, when we parted ways, we kissed and smack on the lips. It was no big deal. We didn't think it was a big deal. And then finally, one of my other buddies' wives says, "Are you guys gay?" And that was like an earth-shattering, life-changing event for me, because I went from being pretty upfront about who I was to being very secretive. I was not willing to go down that path at that time. It was very, things were, I had enough on my plate. I was already somewhat ostracized because I was a anti-war demonstrator, and many of my friends were coming back from Vietnam, and we weren't always seeing eye to eye on stuff. Trust me, a lot of them, march right beside me whenever we'd have a demonstration. But come on now, this is still that age when there was not a lot of respect between the protesters and the veterans, and I always I was very shame-based later on, about that, and not realizing how much courage it took to stand up to the government of the United States. And I mean, that war was wrong, and we all admit that today. But, I mean, there was some things. And so, so say I started stuffing all this at 21, 22, and living this manly life, like, and I farmed and I did all kinds of manly things. And I was outside, did a lot of stuff in the wilderness later on. I mean, right before I transitioned, I was like a fish biologist, and I was outside a lot, tromping up and down through the trails of northeastern Oregon and eastern Washington here, and until I started getting so old that it was hurting my ankles and whatnot. I loved it. I loved it. I just, couldn't get enough. Today I have a hard time putting on jeans because they're so dysphoric for me. I definitely go into a tailspin. And today, I'm reading some article, and it says if I dress too feminine, then it's a fetishization of being a woman. And that's kind of contrary to some of the things I learned in early transition. Is you check out what the women in your community dress like, and then you dress like they do. Don't overdo it. Don't go farther than they do. Just like fit in, blend in. Well, a lot of the women in my community here in this rural southeastern Washington conservative town wear jeans. So, okay, I ended up being one of the better dressed women in town. I'm sorry. Is it fetishization? Hell, I don't know. I always worry about not being enough, not being enough. It's that fear. Fear is always the things. I mean, all through my life, there was like fear being found out. There was fear of success, fear of failure, and you get petrified. I can't do anything because of the fear. And we just have to let that go. We just have to let it go. Most of the things that we are afraid of are never going to happen anyway. When I first transitioned, I had a business here in this community, and I kept waiting for somebody to walk through the door and start giving me crap. Never happened. And after like 6 months of worrying about this, just worried every day I was open, I was just afraid, that this was going to happen. Finally I'd come to the realization that it's probably not going to happen, and I needed to let that fear go. I did not transition to hide in my house and be afraid of everything. I transitioned to be authentic, to be me, to enjoy life, and I have enjoyed life way more than I did prior. And I'm more upfront with people. I can actually be honest today, and life is good. But I had to deal with my inner fears that I would never admit to anybody. We can't, we just can't be controlled by fear. Otherwise, we're going to be miserable. Happiness is an inside job, and we need to be if I move my head, go the other way. There's my dog back there. Happiness is an inside job, and we need to be able to find that happiness. And by recognizing what we are fearful of and trying to let that go, we will be closer to being happy. And with that, I am going to close this out now. I want you all to have a great day. Much love from Regina to you, and we will talk to you later. Love you all. Bye-bye.